back on June 25th, 2021, CNN ran an article on its website written by a scientist named Don Lincoln. He says, "I want to believe in UFOs. Prove me wrong." Then he goes on and gives a little editor's note here. It says, Don Lincoln is a senior scientist at the Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory. He is the author of several science books for general audiences, including Alien Universe, Extraterrestrial Life in Our Minds and in the Cosmos. He also produces a series of science education videos, blah, blah, blah. Well, he in his opinion piece here, Lincoln gets into this... he talks about the report, the Pentagon report getting released. He gives a little brief history of UFOs since 1947. And then toward the very bottom of this opinion piece, he writes, "So what do I think about UFOs and LGM?" LGM, by the way, folks, stands for Little Green Men. So he's already making fun of this whole, It's preposterous that there's things coming here. So he just calls them little green men like we're reading a 1950s science fiction comic book. Anyway, he continues. "As a scientist, I think that extraterrestrial life is common in the universe. After all, astronomers have discovered thousands of exoplanets, and chemistry is chemistry. Given the right conditions, life will arise from the same chemical reactions here we see on Earth, and other chemical combinations are also possible. Indeed, it boggles my mind to think that life has not evolved elsewhere. I think it's likely that intelligent extraterrestrial life is relatively rare." I don't know how you can make that statement. How does he know it's rare? We don't know that. I would venture to guess it's not rare. I mean, with the 100 billion stars in our own galaxy, and then there's billions of other galaxies, and in each of those galaxies there's 100 billion more stars in each of them. I mean, there could be a lot. I don't know if it's rare. I don't know about that. How do you know? How do you know anything? We only really know about our own solar system here. Anyway, continuing. "Here on Earth, millions of species have evolved since life began, and only humanity has evolved the intelligence and abilities to develop a technologically advanced civilization. And I think that most probably all UFOs are not observations of extraterrestrial craft. Difficulties of interstellar travel aside, it seems to me to be inconceivable that an advanced species would find us interesting enough to visit, but not interesting enough to contact." Let me just pause here for a second. Okay, let's read that sentence again and then just try to break this down. Difficulties of interstellar travel aside. Okay, right off the bat, he's again one of these scientists who has no imagination. This guy has zero imagination. He has imagination to believe that there's extraterrestrials on other planets, in the galaxy and in other galaxies. He has that imagination. But he can't imagine how they would get here. Like, he can't imagine our science advancing way, way beyond from where it is right now, where it stands right now. He can't imagine, like, science, like us figuring things out, us changing the way we look at things 10,000 years from now, 100,000 years from now, 1,000,000 years from now, if we're lucky enough. We'll be lucky enough to make it 10,000 years. But anyway, he says... this is the best part, though. "It seems to me to be inconceivable that an advanced species would find us interesting enough to visit, but not interesting enough to contact." What? Oh, my gosh. Okay. If something, how many times, again, there's no, just scientists, and a lot of these mainstream scientists, they just don't have any sort of imagination they can't think outside of the box. And what kind of opinion is this coming from a scientist? Seriously? It seems to me to be inconceivable that an advanced species would find us interesting enough to visit, but not interesting enough to contact. Okay, if something's, we don't know how advanced these things are compared to us. We really don't know. We're guessing. I think it's probably more than 1,000 years, but even 1,000 years, let's say it is 1,000 years. 1,000 years is a lot. Okay, say it's 10,000 years or 100,000 years. You think these things want to waste their time trying to talk to us? They probably look at us like apes. Would you want to sit down at your kitchen? I'm sitting right now at my kitchen table. Would you want to sit down at the kitchen table and talk to a gorilla? Would you like to have a gorilla across the table from you, trying to have a conversation with it? Because that's what it would probably seem like to them. If they're 100,000 years more advanced than we are, that's what it would be like. It'd be like sitting down with a gorilla, trying to have a conversation with an ape. Ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. Anyhow. And then he goes on, another comment here that just... And if they wanted to avoid contact, they're not being very stealthy about it. What are you talking about? They're not being very stealthy about it. I mean, my God, if everybody was seeing a UFO, a flying saucer, an extraterrestrial craft every single day, then we wouldn't be having this argument. I saw one in 1994, and that's it. One time, that's it. And I'm in my 50s. Most people, in fact, nobody else in my family, saw a UFO. Most people don't see them. You're lucky if you get to see one. So what's he talking about? They're not very stealthy about it. They're stealthy about it. If they weren't, they'd be landing all over the place. They'd be hovering over your house. You'd see them zipping through the sky every day, every time you walked out. Just like they'd be no different than seeing a bird, a plane, a jet. A balloon. Actually, you don't even see that many balloons. The other things you see a lot. You see birds all the time. You look up, there's birds in the air. There's a plane flying overhead. There's a helicopter sometimes. There's a jet aircraft going over your house. But you don't see flying saucers or what is most likely an extraterrestrial craft flying around all the time. Now we catch some of these things on video, but the problem is, or on film, or in pictures, it doesn't matter. They don't seem to care if they're seeing somewhat. Sometimes I don't even know if they care at all, actually. But obviously they don't seem like they really care what we think. They probably, who knows. But anyway, then he goes on. But I'm open to being proven wrong. Okay, if you're open to it, you're proved wrong already. All you gotta do is pick up some books. Go on Amazon or wherever you buy your books from, Barnes & Noble, whatever, right? Order some books. I recommend UFOs and the National Security State, Volumes 1 and 2 by Richard Dolan. How about picking up this great book about Roswell here? It's by Donald Schmidt and Thomas Carey. Roswell, The Ultimate Cold Case Closed. I mean, pick that up. Maybe you'll learn something there. Here's a book by Stanton Friedman from some years back, Flying Saucers and Science. The late Stanton Friedman wrote this. Why don't you pick that book up? Read those books, right? There you go. You got your proof. Okay? Because the proof is there. The data is there. If you had read these books, particularly by these UFOs and the National Security State books, okay? If you had read those books, you would understand that the military has been dealing with this since the 40s. All the time. There's reports all the time, every year, all the time. Amazing things. This has been going on a long time. They know about it. Actually, there is a cover-up. I mean, I'm not going to get into the cover-up right now. I've talked about that a number of times before. But if this guy was serious about wanting to be proved wrong, there you go. I'll prove you wrong. Read those books, and you tell me there's nothing going on here. But see, there is one thing you don't have, and that's what I have. I've seen one of these things with my eyeballs. Okay, so I know it's real. The thing I saw floating around in the sky back in 1994, it was from another planet. There was no way humankind made this thing. So I do have the benefit of that. However, even if I didn't have the benefit of that, there was a couple other things too, but I'm not going to get into that either right now. Even if I didn't have the benefit of that, the data that's already compiled here, there's your proof. Read those books. Stop listening to people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to extraterrestrial. He has no idea. He has no idea what's going on with these UFOs. He's just making crap up when it comes to this subject. Anyhow, he's open to being proved wrong. Personally, he continues. Personally, I very much want society to continue to fund programs that try to look for extraterrestrial life, especially SETI. Oh, SETI! Oh my God, no, not SETI. Oh, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, which looks for radio transmissions from advanced civilizations around distant stars. I feel like crying. I feel like when how could they be so dumb? Oh my God, SETI, which, by the way, the late Stanton Friedman referred to SETI as not the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, what he called it the silly effort to investigate, because that's exactly what it is. You're looking for old radio transmissions from something that might be 100,000, a million years more advanced than we are? Actually, why don't you, again, I've said this before, instead of doing that, why don't you put all the focus on the things that are here already? They're already here. Okay, he continues. I also want to get to the bottom of UFO phenomena. If it's advanced weapons from other countries, we should know. And nobody would be more excited than I would be to find out that we're not alone in the cosmos and we're being visited. As Fox Mulder said, I want to believe, but first we need incontrovertible proof. Okay. The proof is there if you want to see it. I mean, let's talk about 1994, September of 1994 in Africa, Zimbabwe. All those school kids, over 60 kids saw a UFO in broad daylight, okay? They saw a flying saucer land, and an extraterrestrial being came out and spoke to them telepathically. There was over 60 witnesses. Were all of those kids lying? Okay. Was it a mass hallucination? No, it was not a mass hallucination. Okay. In fact, all those kids were recently brought back together, and they all said that, yes, that's, they're all grown up now, and they all said, yeah, that's what happened. But yeah, there's proof out there. And there's also trace evidence that's been left behind when these things land. I mean, there's, it burns up the vegetable matter. It does things to the ground. It puts puncture marks in the ground from the landing gear. Yeah, there's things out there. There is some proof out there. And one more other thing, I'll just throw this in there. Unfortunately, the government has the incontrovertible proof that a lot of people would require, like this guy. They do have extraterrestrial bodies, I'm sure, on ice and whatever, however they're storing them. And they do have craft that they recovered. There's no question about this. I know it sounds insane to a lot of people because they've been this stigma that's been going on with this for all these decades, but it's time to take these blinders off, okay? Because this thing is real.